Hello all of you wonderful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and let me just say, I'm pretty sure we all know about the Avengers, right? I mean, they're everywhere at the moment. You've got your Black Widows, you've got your Ant-Mans, the Winter Soldiers, and of course, who can forget Vision? I mean, they're household names right about now, but as you might expect from a series that has been going on since the beginning of time, it might seem, there are of course tons of people that have dipped in and dipped out and have taken up the Avengers mantle. And while people might know about the likes of Spider-Man, Mr. Fantastic and Wolverine, there are so many others that deserve a bump in notoriety. So with this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 most interesting Avengers you've likely never heard of.
But before we begin, I just want to quickly thank Epic Games for sponsoring this video and talk to you guys about the latest major update for Fortnite. That's because Season 4's Nexus War just released, and now is the perfect time to jump into Fortnite. If you haven't downloaded Fortnite already, one, where have you been? And two, it's fine, I've got you covered. You can use the tracking link in the description below to download it for free. You'll want to as well because the Nexus War is a major crossover event that sees everything you love about Fortnite's Battle Royale experience mashed together with everything you love about the Marvel Universe. Right now you can team up and play as iconic heroes and villains such as Iron Man, Thor, Wolverine, She-Hulk, Mystique, and my personal favourite Doctor Doom, all of whom have their own unique superhero abilities. On the one hand, you've got Wolverine slashing enemies left and right, and on the other, you've got Mystique morphing into other skins. It's hard to not let the superhero fan in me just completely take over. Even better, it's not just the characters who have announced their presence, but the island itself has been updated with brand new Marvel-themed locations such as Doom's Domain and a Sentinel Graveyard for the X-Men fans among you. The Nexus War event is live now with its own battle pass to unlock these characters and unlock a bunch of other goodies. So, what are you waiting for? Go and download Fortnite for free right now on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC and mobile, and help save the island from the threat of Galactus. For now though, back to that video.
Number 10. The Forgotten One. With a name like The Forgotten One, even a die-hard comic fan will be forgiven for not likely remembering that this Eternal was once an Avenger. Now to be fair, the Forgotten One has used a variety of monikers over the years without actually having a real name. The Forgotten One was absent from Earth until modern times, because he was wrapped up in affairs with the Celestials, Eternals and Deviants. The hero arrived on Earth at the time of the Inferno event, only to discover that the Avengers had disbanded. Fighting alongside Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, Thor and Captain America, he once again adopted the name of Gilgamesh and helped establish a new team of Avengers. While an interesting character that brings yet more mythology to the Marvel Universe, the Forgotten One is doomed to relative obscurity. He may be godlike and near immortal, but this somehow still isn't quite enough to make a lasting impression in terms of most memorable Avengers. Number 9. Smasher. Like many lower-tiered characters, Smasher is an alias used by a handful of individuals. The first two Smashers were Imperial Guardsmen of the Shi'ar Empire, who both met their fates at the hands of other intergalactic races. The original Smasher was Vril Rock, but it was the X-Men, not the Avengers, who he first encountered. This Smasher sought the help from the X-Men to protect their homeworld, visiting Earth on this one occasion. But one of the latest Smashers, however, did join the Avengers, an Earthling named Isabel Kane. As luck would have it, she discovered a piece of technology on Earth left by Vril Rock, which were these special goggles. These gave her supernatural powers and allowed Kane to serve the alien empire before returning to her home planet. While on Earth, Smasher joins Captain America's new Avengers team, whom she was introduced to via her grandfather. Over the years, Smasher has helped the Avengers on Earth and the Shi'ar Empire while in space. She also has ties to the X-Men, having a child with the new mutant member called Cannonball. Number 8. Havok. Now, chances are pretty high that even casual comic book fans know of Havok, if for no other reason than his inclusion in the X-Men films First Class and X-Men Apocalypse. Havok, real name Alexander Summers, is the younger brother of Scott Summers, the X-Men leader known as Cyclops, though weirdly in the films he's actually cast as the older sibling. When the Summers family were on vacation, their plane was attacked and the two boys had to jump to safety without their parents. Alex and Scott were separated soon after landing and didn't come into contact with each other for many years after. Havok would go on to serve on a number of superhero teams like X-Factor and the X-Men, but he was also a member of the Avengers for a short time, thanks to a faction that he led which was known as the Unity Squad. He would earn this place when the Avengers and X-Men came into conflict, as Havok would choose Captain America's side against his own brothers. As the dust settled, Cap thanked Havok by naming him leader of the new Uncanny Avengers team, which was a group entirely composed of mutants and superpowered humans. Number 7. Starbrand. Not unlike Smasher, the Starbrand moniker is bestowed upon an individual who interacts with a specific object in the Marvel Universe. In this case, the Starbrand is a weapon that draws its power from the fabric of space and time itself. When an individual wields the weapon, they are given its powers. They even retain some of the Starbrand powers even after they give up the weapon, so it's a pretty sweet deal. The power of the Starbrand would trigger the existence of superpowers in the universe during the White Event. Believe it or not, this all-powerful brand was given to a random college student named Kevin Connor, who immediately destroyed everything and everyone on campus. This Starbrand would team with the Avengers to take on beings like Thanos and the Builders, and one of his most interesting times was during his inclusion in the 1 million BC arc. Despite being so powerful though, Connor would eventually be killed by Ghost Rider. Number 6. Jocasta. Now, the Avengers have had pretty strange lineups over the years, but Jocasta's inclusion is definitely one of the most interesting and arguably one of the most intriguing members that definitely deserves an introduction into the MCU. This is largely because she is, or rather was, the robotic bride of Ultron. When Ultron desired a partner, he kidnapped the Wasp and brainwashed Ant-Man into transferring the Wasp's life force into a robot. When Jocasta became aware, she realized Ultron's plan would kill another living being, which filled her with horror. As such, she summoned the Avengers to stop Ultron and to save the real Wasp's life. Although Jocasta was with the Avengers for some time, she was never socially or officially accepted as a true Avenger. Even Vision, not quite human himself, didn't connect with Jocasta. As any troubled character would, she then sacrificed herself to defeat Ultron. Number 5. Hyperion. When you compare Marvel and DC characters, there are often glaring similarities sometimes. I mean, Green Arrow and Hawkeye are just as similar in essence as Aquaman and Namor, and Deadpool, named Wade Wilson, is obviously a play on DC's Deathstroke, whose real name is Slade Wilson. And for a Superman look-alike, look no further than Marvel's Hyperion. Appearing first as a villain, which is actually pretty common for future Avengers to do, Hyperion was part of the Grandmaster's Squadron Sinister to battle Earth's mightiest heroes. Mark Milton is actually one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe. He's an Eternal, possessing powers like atomic vision, a healing factor, flight, super strength, and super speed, not to mention a sweet-ass cape. And there are a handful of Hyperions in alternate realities, one of which is an Avenger. This version was actually brought into the mainstream Earth 616 by the Avengers, who rescued him from a dying universe. Hyperion accepted an invitation to join the Avengers in order to take on the Beyonders and other powerful beings known as Ex Nihilo. Number 4. Star Fox. No, not the Star Fox from Nintendo, although that would be pretty sweet. But this Star Fox does have a pretty impressive, or dubious depending on how you look at it, rap sheet. He's an Eternal, an Avenger, and the brother of Thanos himself. But he's completely different in temperament to his big bad brother, because he loves life and travels through space seeking out romance and adventure by, stimulating others' pleasure centers. Unfortunately, his powers were pretty useless against Thanos, who was transfixed on death. He therefore left his murderous brother at home and chose to find other planets with humanoid inhabitants to interact with. And of course, his travels took him to Earth, where he joins the Avengers under the new name of Star Fox. Eventually, Star Fox returns to space, fighting with various groups like the Eternals against Thanos. But what makes him interesting though is that he has the power to excite pleasure in others. Throughout the issues, he actually uses it to hook up with as many women across the galaxy as possible, notably including She-Hulk. But spoiler alert, his galactic sexcapades aren't always clearly defined as consensual. Star Fox was brought up on charges of sexual assault on Earth. He allegedly used his powers, which are essentially a form of emotional mind control, to seduce a number of women against their will. Therefore, he's definitely not one of Earth's mightiest, but definitely, truly one of Earth's sketchiest. Number 3. Manifold. As an indigenous Australian who was relatively new to the Marvel Universe, Manifold made his debut as one of Nick Fury's secret warriors. Possessing the ability to teleport himself and others across any point of space and time, he adopted the name Manifold when he joined a global expansion of the Avengers team. After S.H.I.E.L.D. fell, he joined other groups such as AIM and the Illuminati. Although he is instrumental in helping the Avengers defeat the likes of Doctor Doom and Ex-Nihilo, he's basically used as a kind of method of transportation for the group. During one mission, Manifold is injured and falls into a coma. He recovers, but only to die during a later mission which sees him expend all of his energy to transport aid to the Illuminati. When he's brought back to life again, he's once again used as merely a chauffeur, this time transporting Black Panther around Wakanda to squash revolts. Number 2. Blue Marvel. Everyone knows about Captain Marvel, and most of us have heard about Miss Marvel, and they know that Jean Grey was also Marvel Girl, but how many comic fans have actually heard of Blue Marvel? A veteran of the Korean War, Adam Brashear received his powers after being exposed to radiation from the negative zone. He took on the name Blue Marvel to continue fighting for his country with his new powers of antimatter energy absorption, super strength, and of course, flight. The former Marine has a doctorate from Cornell in electrical engineering and theoretical physics. Despite being involved with the Mighty Avengers and Ultimate Avengers teams, discrimination sadly seems to be a significant part of his story. After his identity as an African American was revealed, 1970s America turned on him, and JFK himself asked Blue Marvel to retire. And number 1, Echo/Ronin. The codename Ronin is used by a variety of characters in the Marvel Universe, most notably of Hawkeye. The first Ronin to join the Avengers, however, was Maya Lopez, who also went by the codename of Echo. With photographic reflexes that enable her to swiftly memorize anything and everything she sees, this deaf Native American character is as interesting as she is diverse. Echo was raised by Kingpin and then told that Daredevil was the one that killed her father. Matt Murdock and Lopez immediately, they fell in love rather than fight, and when she discovered that it was Kingpin that actually murdered her dad, she blinded the big man. Eventually, she relocated to Japan and took the guise of Ronin, joining the Avengers to take down the Silver Samurai. While in Japan, though, she was killed by a Skrull disguised as Elektra, but then she was resurrected by the Hand and killed the Skrull in revenge. In typical comic fashion, Echo is killed once more, this time by Count Nefaria, only to return not long after. Does anyone actually stay dead? Not that I'm complaining, because she's really cool. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 Marvel Avengers that you've probably never heard of. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as any others that you'd like to shed some light on today. And if you want to chat to me further about all things to do with comic books, TV, film, wrestling, anything else, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0. As always, I've been Jules. You've been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon.